want to give a quick just intro to anybody else who's watching this recording and catching up on this to try to get a little bit of a feel for Bali, what all of this is going to be all about. So these deep dives are effectively just us trying to find members of the community who have been in these destinations before. Might be a mix of different types. Could be an ambassador from that place. Could be people who've been on a chapter there, people who've just spent some time there. In the case now, we actually have all four of us who've been on a chapter together here. And then also, so that is Lisa, Sanjeev, and Pia are here today. And we'll do intros in a second as well for a round. So that's effectively what it's all about. If you're ever planning to come over to Bali, just listen to this, listen to it as a podcast if you want, or as a video, and it'll hopefully be a chance for you to understand a little bit more about what it's all about, maybe even also where you might want to be in Bali. That's something that we can hopefully touch on as well, because there are a few different areas. So before we hop into all of that, I would love to just give everybody a quick chance to say, yeah, just super quick intro, maybe just a tiny bit of a background of when you joined the tribe, or maybe briefly what chapters you've done. Pia, in your case, maybe a summary, because it's been quite a few. But yeah, so I will maybe let you start, Pia.
Hi, I'm Pia. I'm from Germany, and I joined the tribe in 2017. And I've done, yeah, like Diego said, a lot of chapters. And I've actually done a Bali chapter since 2017. I think 4 or maybe even 5 of them. So I've lost count.
That's nuts.
So yeah. So yeah, I love Bali, and I love Bali with the tribe.
Awesome, Lisa. I kind of just got you next on the screen. So all you.
So I'm Lisa, and I am from Australia. You can tell by that accent, but I've been sort of traveling a bit all last year, and I've been traveling by myself, and I decided I wanted a bit more community. So I found Wi-Fi Tribe, and I think I'm the last Australian to have not gone to Bali, but so I was like, this needs to happen. So that was my first chapter, was last September with the tribe, and it was great.
How about you, Sanjeev?
Hi, I'm Sanjeev. I'm from Italy, from Milan, and I did my first chapter with the Wi-Fi Tribe last September with Lisa and Pia and fantastic Diego, and was absolutely fantastic, because actually I was like always solo traveling. Like I love to travel by myself and everything, but at a certain point I just feel that I need to do something with other people, like together again. And so I think like the Wi-Fi Tribe was the perfect fit.
Well, thanks. And then, of course, also big thanks to all of you for hopping onto this and, yeah, just offering up your... Yeah, so I wanted to maybe to kick us off, just kind of just go around, or also just feel free to jump in if anything comes to mind. What would you say when you're thinking back to your time in Bali, and I guess the Bali chapter for that matter? What made it? What was it like for you? What made it special for you? Is there anything that stood out? Again, kind of thinking about both of those elements, the chapter and the destination. I'm really curious to know. And anyone who's got it, just hop in, and then we can just go around.
I can go. The first thing that stands out to me, and I kind of think it set the tone, was my birthday. But it was the Samesa. It was an Italian restaurant in Bali, because that made sense. But it was like this family dinner. Everyone sits at a big table, and they get you up dancing, and it was just it was like the first week, and it just sort of set this tone for everyone being a family, and that was super special. One, because it's my birthday, but it was actually really special to start the whole tribe experience that way. It was like the best birthday I've ever had. It was so good.
But for me, like there was many moments in Bali that like reminds me. I mean, wants to go back at the time, but the one that I really had fun, and actually I really get drunk as well, was like at Finn's Club. That was like, wow, that was like a really cool night. And it was really amazing as well, because, you didn't know each other so well, so you were kind of shy and everything. But then I discovered that everybody was so cool, and party guys, like, obviously they were professionals, like they were working hard and everything. But for me, it was like the first experience to see this type of people that were working very hard in another part of the world, and at the same time having such a great fun.
Yeah, I think something that really facilitates this amazing family feeling almost that we got on this chapter, specifically in Bali, is the villa, right, that we're living at there. And I think that's where at least the next few chapters are planned as well, right? So it's this huge big complex that's almost, and I think it says this on the chapter page as well, but I think it's almost like a little village, right? We have a few pools and we can all access the pools, we can all access the several common rooms, there's a garden we're looking out onto rice fields, there's 2 kitchen areas, like it feels very, yeah, just like a little village, basically. And I think that makes it really, really easy to just come together every day as well.
Yeah, and I'd love to ask all of you guys actually, who you've also been on other chapters now, how does that compare to kind of the setup that you've seen in other destinations that we go to? Because I do think that there is, it's worth bringing this up so that people have a bit of a feel for, you know, what it looks like, also what not to expect always, because frankly it does change quite a bit.
For me, definitely sort of community bonding wise, the chapters where we're all together in the one location or in the one accommodation, we always go deepest, right? And Bali definitely offers that because we're all in the same place, on the same grounds, on the compound, as we called it, right?
It was good for that. Like you'd wake up in the morning and just, you want to spend time in those common spaces. Like it's really lovely. Like you're getting out of your room and you're like sitting and having breakfast together, or you're going up to the yoga space, or, you know, it's just nice. Like, you know, I had this idea of I would be going off to co-working spaces every day, and we were all finding ourselves working in the common areas going, I don't want to leave here. I sort of had to force myself to go out, to be like, you need to go see some things, you know, during the week.
For my first experience was the perfect place. Also, for me, the first experience, because I think if I was like in a separate apartment, like by myself, right, the chance to chat together and stay together with the other was much less. But with that type of villa, I think it was awesome for know everybody and discover a different person. So I think it was the perfect fit.
There's a lot of serendipity in that, huh? Because you come out of your room, whatever the time, there's always somebody there, right? Especially if you sort of, you know, you're moving around at different times, like somebody has this routine, you're like, oh, hi, good morning. You know, it's always Johnny at this time in the morning. And you kind of just always bounce into different people. And I think that part's really nice about it. Do you remember one thing? There used to be a wall between kind of the two properties, and they were sort of semi-connected. And I remember I was just going, it'd be really nice if that wall wasn't there. They've taken that wall down now. So it'll be nice that it's just all like, you can, from now you'll be able to kind of like look across and see everybody in the other kitchen. So I think that'll just be nice.
You can fight everybody now.
Now there's no more hiding, for better or for worse. Yeah,
exactly.
So that's, and the other thing that is worth mentioning as well to anybody who's considering this, you were talking about co-working from there. So we were all working from that place a lot as well. They have added, I think they've added these, it's on the website now as well, but they've added these just desks and proper co-work chairs, which again is something that we don't really have anywhere. One thing I do want to mention is that if anybody is coming to the Bali setup, especially if this is your first chapter, heads up, like I would love to take this housing and just put it in our pocket and go take it with us wherever we go in the world. It's not always going to be like this. This village setting, I think, is probably the most ideal setting for any chapter anywhere, because it's kind of the best of both worlds. You do have your own little space and your privacy in your room or in your little hut, or however, you know, you've got a lot of areas where you can just spend time in. But at the same time, that kind of everybody in the same neighborhood, everybody in the same village feeling means that it's just by its nature, just very, very communal. Right. And so that's a really lovely setup that we have here. One thing to note, and I think this is also really important for anybody coming over to Bali, is that everything here moves on scooters. So you need to either be comfortable driving your scooter yourself, or you can learn. There's people that'll teach you here as well, and they'll rent you scooters. Renting scooters itself is really cheap. I think it starts at like $70 or so. but there's a lot of traffic and it can get a little bit scary, especially if you haven't been doing any scooter driving before. So you definitely do want to kind of learn it before you put yourself out into that. Or, of course, like in any other place, there's the local equivalent of Uber. In this case, you can drive a car around if you want to. It's called Gojek or Grab. It's like Uber, but mostly people go around on the back of a scooter if they're using these kind of services. And then those services also bring food to you. So that's just maybe something to know about Bali that's quite specific. And I think that if you come to Bali hoping that you can walk everywhere, it is like Bali in general, certainly Canggu, but Bali in general is not walkable, right? So I think that's just a really important thing to note. Yeah, anything on that, guys? Anything that you wanted to add to that, maybe?
I do. Like, I should definitely. So I was not up for a scooter. It was like a really big thing about when I was finding out about Wi-Fi Tribe and where the accommodation was going to be. The fact that it wasn't walkable and that I might have to get on a scooter terrified me. And so if anyone else feels that way, be rest assured you can get a car everywhere. I didn't get on a scooter once. I was maybe like 4 minutes behind other people. So it didn't like drastically change my day. And I was a happy person. But yeah, I think, doing the scooters would have been a really fun thing to do. And if you don't have a problem with it, go for your life. It wasn't for me.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's a really, really good point. And I actually remember you reaching out. And we actually had a lot of back and forth. I'm like, oh yeah, it's like this, it's like that. You must have been a little bit nervous for sure.
I think because of being in Australia, we sort of see a lot on like the news, like accidents with scooters. So I think that was just what's prominently in my head. And I'm very accident prone. So I was like, this seems like a bad idea for me.
That's one thing I do miss in Bali, the ease of walking everywhere. But there are places that you can go to get your steps in. The beach is one, for example. Or if you're in the Ubud area, there's a ton of gorgeous pathways through sort of the outskirts of town and through the rice fields. But it's just more from most sort of areas and the villa as well that you can't. I mean, you can, but it's just not very pleasant to walk. There's no sidewalks, there's stray dogs everywhere, it's just hot, and dusty, and there's a lot of traffic, so you don't want to walk there specifically. But if you like to walk, there are places you can take a scooter to.
And I think that can kind of take us into workouts and all that kind of stuff as well. I wonder whether that's worth. Yeah, let's touch on it now, because that I think is kind of quite related to the whole lifestyle thing here as well. We didn't do that much. I think there were people that joined a gym. If I remember correctly, there were a few people that joined a gym on that chapter. There's so many gyms here. Some of them way overpriced, others normal priced. So up to you what your preference is. And something that we've discovered more recently, and this is while we were not on the chapter, but it's definitely something that I'm gonna really encourage people on the chapter to do, is we've got basically a private trainer here who's got like a private little mini gym. That's just like a little box. It's amazing. It's like a little CrossFit kind of setup. And I was always the kind of person, I've never had a trainer or a gym coach. I was always like, I can do this. It's just lifting weights. So what? And so I went to that session, and she just in one session completely convinced me that that's what I should be doing from now on. It's just easy to show up. You get through the workout really well, and she really, really knows what she's doing. And so you just don't injure yourself, right? And that's already paid off a million times over. It wasn't expensive, especially when we got together as a little group. And so I would really recommend that the chapter does that, maybe even gets together with, 6 people, and we do 1 hour, and then 6 other people might want to do another hour. She custom designs the program for you and literally like guides you through everything. I'm gonna be quiet now. Pia, I'll hand over to you. Anything I missed? Anything else worth mentioning around those workouts?
No, I think you got it. Except that, yes, I can absolutely recommend this. Training sessions with Abs is her name, are incredible. And I miss them so much. I only left Bali 3 weeks ago. And because of her, I am sticking to it. Even here, I'm in the UK right now, and I found a gym that's 15 minutes walk away, and I'm sticking to her schedule that she, like Diego said, created for us. And it has just inspired me so much. So I cannot recommend her enough. And the gym is, it's it's a little box. It's in a kind of a 3-part garage, I guess, and it's away from the main hype of things, and it's just, yeah, it's great. It's perfect.
So this sounds a little nuts, but Aura, who was living with us as well after we finished off the chapter and stayed here in Bali, she literally has decided to stay in Bali because of that. It sounds ridiculous, and you guys have met her. It's a bit crazy, but it is the truth. Like, it has been that game changing for her. So just a small recommendation to whatever you do. If you do end up in Canggu, hit up Abs or ask us for Abs' contact, and definitely get in touch with her. She's amazing. P and I can add something later on about like our routine that we've kind of discovered a little bit later. But maybe you, Lisa, and Sanjeev, if you could just like really quickly sort of like run through a typical or if you will, an ideal day to day in Bali. If you think back to the chapter, like, oh, I usually do this in the morning, then I do that. Just to give a feel for what it actually is like on a day to day basis.
I can go first. It's I pretty much woke up in the morning and like walked out into my balcony overlooking the pool and listened to the birds, and I was like, I'm in heaven. I was like, this is great. And then like wandered down to get a coffee and have my breakfast, and then I pretty much worked from home for the morning most of the times. I went out for breakfast. A good breakfast dragged me out a couple of times, but for the most part I was working from home, and then I'd sort of maybe go somewhere to work in the afternoon, and I'd like to try like a couple of different co-working places. I'm trying to think of the one with the pool in it. That was a really nice co-working place I went to a couple of times. That was
Tribal? Is that the one?
Tribal. It's Tribal.
Okay.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah. Yeah. So I liked that one. That
we
was
did
a good
go there a
spot.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Point.
And then dinner was like usually together. So we'd either all say who wants to get takeaway, and we'd all sort of pile in on whatever takeaway was going, and it's usually noodles. And then, or we'd go out somewhere. Yeah. I loved going to Finn's. We did that a couple of times. That was really good.
Awesome. How about on your side, Sanjeev?
I remember Richie was getting up because me and Richie were sharing the room. And he was waking up always at 6:30, 7 o'clock for go to the gym and do crossfitting. Because, I say, okay, you're out of your mind. No, but it's okay. And
he might be listening, Sanjeev.
No, we are brother. I'm going to see him in Philippines soon, hopefully.
Oh,
and for me,
awesome.
Like the life was quite amazing because comparing like to Italy, like having all the foods like at your doorsteps and scooters at your doorsteps, it's like we are in the future in Bali. We are not like in the medieval age like in Italy. Like I was like very surprised about that, and for me it was like as Pia said, I was missing a little bit walking. Like I remember the first day that I was trying to walk around the area, and I remember Vali was coming around with a scooter and said, "Hey, you want a ride with me?" I said, "No, I can walk." And I said, "I don't know if you can walk that much." And actually, he was right, because after 5 minutes, I go back to the villa and get a call. But my usual day was like trying to get around. So at the end, I was trying to get always a go grab and go around. And for the food, the food there in Bali is amazing. You can get even a better pizza than Italy. Trust me, I'm Italian, so I can say that. So
well, that's a bold
for the
statement.
food, and just for suggest to the people that in future will go to Bali, don't order too many times the food in the house. I know you have to work and everything, but just go outside and discover the place. There was this place. Where was the place where we get the aperitivo with the pizza? Diego was
Arte or La Bussola? Arte.
Arte.
Okay.
Arte was very nice. I mean, it was like near the beach side and everything. Then maybe have an aperitivo to La Brisa. Brisa, amazing place.
Yeah.
So I was like pushing myself always to go out and not just stay in the villa. And my day was like that, like working a little bit in the morning, going out for lunch, going back to work a little bit again, go out for the aperitivo and for dinner, and then maybe if there was a birthday party, let's go to have party in the night.
Awesome. It seems like Bali was very Italian themed. Huh? We had that Italian birthday party, went back to these Italian restaurants for pizza. I remember a lot of Italian gelato. There's another gelateria that has just opened up, and another pizza place called La Bussola, which is amazing as well, by the way. All of this in Pereira. Yeah, maybe just a really quick one. I think we don't need to dive into this too much because the reality is that Bali has just incredible amounts of restaurants and cafes and food. Like it's an absolute overload of that. But just wanted to throw it out there if there's anything else anybody wanted to say on the the food scene, the cafe scene, the working outside before we hop over to probably weekend trips.
There was a really nice restaurant that was on one of the weekend trips. It was down the Uluwatu restaurant that was like overlooking, it had a really lovely view. We did it on like the first weekend and that was beautiful. I think it was like Mana Uluwatu or something like that, but it was beautiful and the food was amazing.
That takes us now nicely onto weekend trips. And I think actually, oh, Bali's a great one for this. Maybe, Pia, you and I could try to supplement on weekend trips with all the things that we've done in the past. And we maybe have a chance for you, Lisa, and Sanjeev to tell us a little bit more about the weekend trips that we did on the chapter, and maybe just like what was great about them, like why do those, or maybe why not do those if you feel like there's, or why do it in a better way, and then maybe I can add anything else to that. So I don't know. Do you want to kick us off, Sanjeev?
Just for say, not because it's your girlfriend, but I must say that Aura was super well organized, and she was amazing to just give a suggestion and everything. And so was like an awesome person to do that. And for me, some of that weekend trip were really life changing. Like I remember like doing what was the hiking down, killing the T-Rex things.
Yes, Kilinging Beach, I think, on Nusa Penida, right?
But that was, man, and I did it with the flip-flop. I mean, I was like risking my life over there, so it was like really life-changing. That's why.
Was it worth
like,
it?
Worth it, my God, man. It was like living in the film of Leonardo DiCaprio. You know the beach? The same. That was like, wow. I was down there and beautiful people, especially beautiful woman. But about that, the sea, the waves, that was amazing. That was really amazing. And also, like, discover these places. Like, if I was by myself, I don't know if I was going there, do it by myself. But if you are with a group and with nice people, you can do it easily. And especially the moments, you collect so many beautiful moments, especially also when we went with the tent. Sorry, I'm very bad with the name. I don't remember the place, the name of the place. But also there, only with Wi-Fi Tribe you can do that stuff. And there was also amazing moments there. And there, Gili Island, another amazing place. Fantastic. I did a dive over there. And the Balinese people are also really nice people. Also, when we did the trip with the guide, I don't remember the name, sorry about that. But also travel with the locals and get in touch with their culture was very nice, and especially thanks to Wi-Fi Tribe. I think thanks to Aura. Sorry for mentioning too much her, but I think she was like a really game changer on that weekend trips, because I really enjoyed it a lot. It was really memories that will stuck in my mind forever.
Maybe to that trip, I love this trip so much. I've done it 3 times. I didn't actually do it on this chapter, but I've done it 3 times, and it's just, as Diego was saying, as Sanjeev was saying, it's incredible if you want to experience the real Bali, sort of. And you camp in the tents right by the lake, and then a little at the beginning of the whole area, there's this old gorgeous temple, and apparently during the rainy season that can get flooded, so I can't even imagine what that would look like when it's standing in the water. Blows my mind. But it's just such an amazing...
I did not do the camping trip weekend. We did some amazing weekend trips though. The first one was we sort of like did the Southern Beaches tour and the Uluwatu Temple, and my tip there is we missed the fire show because we didn't book tickets early enough, so make sure you get tickets for that. But it was a beautiful sunset. It was nice to go down there. We went to like the Eat, Pray, Love beach, which I've forgotten the name of what it's called. It starts with a P, Padang or something like that. Anyway, that was beautiful. And then I think it was that same weekend that I got dragged on stage to do a Balinese dance. That was that weekend, which is, I've made this comment a number of times that I'm like, I always get picked on to be dragged on stage or something. And yet again, it happens.
I remember you saying that to me before you went there. And you said, oh, wouldn't it be funny if? And you come back and that was your story. Yeah.
I was like, it happens. I'm like, it just happens all the time. I try to very unmanifest it and it still happens. I'm like, no. But so that was a really good weekend. And then we did Nusa Penida, I think was the second weekend.
I love that place.
I get them mixed up, but we did, which was good, but that was a very trying weekend for me. There was like issues with cars and it was like a lot of hiking and it was hot and I needed some chill on a beach time. So I got that. I went to the Crystal Bay beach, which was nice. And I did not climb down and have the religious experience that Sanjeev did. But I had a lovely view from the top. I was like, I won't make it back up again.
In flip-flops.
Yeah, in flip-flops. Oh my God. And then, so I didn't do the camping trip, but I did a magical weekend in Ubud, staying in a glorious resort, and like that was what I needed. With like, what do you call it? You know, the floating breakfasts over an infinity pool, and it was just, you know, waterfalls and swings and magical. Yeah, it's like that's what I needed that weekend. And then I nearly missed Gili Islands. I nearly missed that because I'd sort of reached my limit of weekend trips, and I was like, I think I'm just going to stay in Canggu for this weekend. I haven't got it in me for another trip. And Diego was just like, Lisa, no. He's like, you don't want to miss this one. He's like, you know, bonfires on the beach, sunsets, walk out onto the beach, amazing snorkeling. It's like you bike around the island. It's like, yeah, I would have been so bad if I missed that because that was the highlight of my trip. I loved it there. I would go back and stay on Gili T for a month. It was just heaven to me.
There are 2 tribers right now going from Japan to stay there for a month, and I've not heard of someone doing that yet, but I could imagine it. We kind of thought chapter here. Internet's still not quite there, but yeah.
There was a couple of us that were saying, well, I think we want to go back there and stay a bit longer. Yeah.
Yeah, but so just never miss a weekend trip. Also, if you have work to do, just go and do your work later, but do it the weekend because it's really something that you have to do.
They had amazing massages as well. There was a really amazing massage spa there that was to die for. Oh, it was so good.
Did you find that? Was that you? Because that now has legendary
No,
status.
someone told me about it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, someone told me about it. But I was like, I booked a half-hour massage and that was an absolute mistake. I was like, can this go longer? And she's like, we're fully booked. I'm like, no.
That's a good point, by the way. Massages here are incredible. They are really not expensive. We have top recommendations from us would be if you're in. Wait, do you remember the name for that one in Gili T by any chance?
I don't. I can't remember.
Okay.
I'll have to find it and share it somewhere.
One of the only ones that is a bigger,
I don't think it looks beautiful. It looks like a beautiful day spa. Yeah.
Yeah. So so there's many small massages, like, you know, hole in the wall type of massages, but this one is the really big fancy one. So if you're there, look for that one. In Canggu, actually, we used to always go to Amo Spa. It's a little more pricey and the massages are okay, but we've recently discovered therapy, and the massages are absolutely incredible. A little less expensive, and it's much more sort of just local run, a lot smaller, not as like fancy build out, but absolutely amazing massages. And in Ubud, our top recommendation would be Putri Spa. So if you're there, yeah, and we used to just go to Ubud every weekend just to get those massages and coffee and our smoothie bowl and something, a sashimi, tacos, something like that. So we had a routine that we would do every time we went to Ubud. This is in our other life, right? After the chapter when we became very boring people and we just did the same routine over and over again. Yeah, I wanted to ask you, Pia, is there anything else when you're thinking back to some of the other trips that you've done, some of the, 25, 30 other trips to Bali that you've done in your life, in your many different lives that you've lived, Are there any other weekend trips that you would really highly recommend that just stood out to you that maybe we didn't have the chance to do here?
No, I think that about covers it. What I did want to add to both the Gillies and the Noosa islands in the south is the snorkeling or diving if you like to dive.
Ooh, yes.
But the snorkeling in any of those locations is incredible. You will see like manta rays. You will see Schildkröten, German word.
Turtles.
What are they called? Turtles. Thank you. That's absolutely highly recommend the snorkeling or the diving as well. And that could, if you're a diver, I've not actually done this trip, but I've heard so many good things about it. Head to Ahmed, which is on the east coast of the island. And there's a ton of dive schools and you can get your PADI certification, open water. And there's also a wreck out there, I believe. I think, Diego, you've done this, right?
I didn't manage to, but Aura did on one of the past chapters, yeah.
Ah, yes. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, diving, there are a lot of great dive locations in and around Bali. Not necessarily exactly the Canggu area where we stay on chapter, but getting around is fairly easy, and Ahmed could be a nice weekend trip as well.
I was going to say the on Gili T, the just being like snorkeling straight off the beach was amazing. Like just right across from your accommodation was. So I remember walking in. I'm I'll snorkel off the beach. Snorkeling off the beach is not normally amazing, and I was like, wow, that's great. So that was really good. And then the boat trip we did, which was like that really cool old wooden boat. And went to do like the swimming with the statues, the underwater statues. That was so cool. I loved that.
So that's all from Gili T typically. You can do it from the other islands as well. But effectively, the Gili Islands is this group of 3 islands. And they're just a little bit further out from Bali. So you take a boat trip out there. You can do it easily in a weekend. People loved it a lot. So I would recommend probably staying an extra night. Try to see if you can kind of save 3 days there or so. If possible, you can work from there. It's not the best, but you can definitely find a spot with good enough Wi-Fi to be able to get your work done. We did it. We did it for, I think, two extra days. But you can also go to the other 2 islands, so Gili Air and Gili Meno. Gili T is the most developed island, and you can rent a bike all the way around in just 30 minutes. And there's really something sort of built all the way around the island, so you find lots of restaurants. It's just very developed, right? If you want it a lot more or a lot lesser developed, then you can hop over to one of the other 2, Gili Air or Gili Meno. And we also, I think, mentioned these other islands, Noosas. So there's Nusa Penida and Nusa Lembongan. Penida is bigger. It has the dinosaur beach, the place that Sanjeev told you about right at the beginning, that you have to do in flip-flops. Otherwise, you're not doing it right. And then the other one, Lembongan, is this smaller island next to it as well. And you would do those separately usually, unless you kind of combine them all in one tour, but they do take sort of their own time. That smaller one has a diver snorkel site with lots of massive manta rays. So it's an insane experience. I'd never seen anything like it before. So that was really, really awesome. And also just a nice beach, like something that you can kind of chill out, stay at for 2 to 3 days and just be in one of these sort of hotels that are right there on the beach. So those are top recommendations, I think, as well. In terms of beaches in Bali, you kind of get them in Uluwatu, you get them on these islands, the really, really nice ones. And then I think there's some more in sort of the northeast part of Bali. The other beaches are more black sand beaches. So you're not it's not quite that, that dreamy idyllic beach that you're looking for with all the palm trees hanging over it. But you can find that if you go to these other spots. Other trip that I'd give an honorable mention to is 2, I think. You can go, well, obviously go to Ubud and do the monkey forest. Just don't eat ice cream in the monkey forest because they will win. They will take the ice cream and then they will be energized and then they will come for more. But otherwise they are absolutely lovely and you can walk right through, take photos. So that's amazing to do. You can do rafting, whitewater rafting. And it's not so crazy. So if you've never done it before, it's a good place to try it out. I heard they do donuts there now, similar to whitewater rafting, but potentially a little more fun. Yeah, we have to do that. I haven't done that yet. And then the last one to mention that, Pia, you wanted to do, and we didn't get the chance to do yet with you, is the volcano hike. So in the middle of the night, you hike up this volcano, and then you're up at the top when the sun rises. And from there, you get to see the lake, the other volcano on the other side. You get to see just out over the ocean. You basically see all of Bali, the entire island, because it's a relatively small island from up there. But yeah, I think that's really everything on the weekend trips. Anything else I missed? Yeah. hop in if there's anything.
Just wanted to say I read something recently that the government of Bali has actually canceled those trips, those hikes. We're not allowed on the mountains anymore.
Interesting.
Is that right? I don't know. Did
Good
you
to
hear
know.
about this? Maybe
I hadn't heard
maybe this
yet,
was
but-
fake news. I don't know, but
I heard about it as well. They're putting a bunch of restrictions in. I don't know if it's a blanket ban. I think there might be like designated tour groups that will, but yeah, I think they're trying to restrict it in some way.
So definitely then research it. If you're thinking about doing this trip, how can you still do it? Can you still do it at all? Definitely look into that then, so that you're most up to date on those things. Maybe one thing I wanted to do to just kind of help us wrap this up is if you now kind of zoom out from all of this and go, well, what was the vibe like in summary of the Bali chapter and of being here? Just to give you a few ideas of kind of like the thing to maybe try to pin it to. Was it great for getting work done? Was it really awesome for being able to focus on your health? Is it super adventurous? Is it very outdoorsy? Is it very comfortable? Is it super, I don't know, much more sort of on the side of cultural exploration? Like how would you describe that if you were to kind of summarize it into a vibe?
I feel like we were a very chilled group on that chapter. But that's going to be very like different chapter to chapter. And
Sanjeev seems to have been partying though, so.
So it was, I think, kind of feel like during the week we were like chilled, and then on the weekends we were like, go.
No, 100%.
So it was like everyone was doing lots of work and was kind of having this very chilled family vibe during the week. And then on the weekends it was like full of adventure. What are we going to go out and do? And yeah, so it was kind of the best of both worlds in some ways.
yeah, full on agree. It was a time in my life where I needed to like take down the energy a bit for myself, and during the weeks, this exactly as Lisa was describing, having a bit more chill. Everyone was working and focusing more on getting their work done and going to yoga, doing the workouts, and then having lovely chill dinners, whether that was at the villa or in restaurants. And then on the weekends, going to have the fun. And it was great. Yeah.
Thank you so much for all this, guys. Thank you so much for taking this time and passing on so many things. I'm sure that we could probably spend 5 hours talking about absolutely everything. There's going to be so many more things about it. But yeah, also feel free to reach out and ask if there's any other questions. And yeah, it was nice to have this little reunion with you guys. Literally feels like it has been 3 weeks ago and at the same time 3 years ago, which is the weird time warp that we live in these days. But it was lovely to see you all again. And yeah, thanks for taking this time to let everybody else know.